As a fan of the Souls-like genre of games, it was only a matter of time before I would make my way to the poster child for anime Souls, and as a fan of Shift Game Studio for their previous God Eater series and the long-forgotten Freedom Wars, I was excited to see how their unique, action-oriented take on Monster Hunter-style games would translate to a genre even more insistent on timing, learning, and punishing mistakes. Compared to other Souls-like games, Code Vein features player stats based more on equipment than levels, blood code, which can be thought of as your class in an RPG, and your passive abilities. These stats scale with your weapon or spells to determine their damage. Increasing your level only increases base health, stamina, defense, and attack in small increments. Even with a fully upgraded weapon and at a high level, it will probably take a few attacks to defeat even starting area enemies. That said, you will still want every advantage you can get, and luckily, farming for XP is pretty quick and painless. Other than that, Code Vein does Souls-like game design closely by the numbers. Attack animations are wider than your average Souls-like, stagger animations are long, and the animations feel rather light rather than slow or heavy. The most unique aspect of the game's design are the drain attacks, which you use to build up your max Ichor, which in turn is used to cast spells and abilities. This is the holdover from the Devour abilities of God Eater, and gives the game its unique feel. Using these attacks on enemies you are familiar with, or during the easier encounters at the start of a level, make you more prepared for harder encounters later on. On a good run, it poises the player to be more prepared to challenge the boss than if they rest at the Missile, this game's version of a Dark Souls bonfire, before a boss fight, creating an interesting risk-reward scenario. Do I fight the boss now, when I'm lower on healing, have tons of experience to lose, but at my greatest offensive potential? Or do I lose that potential for a less risky, but potentially more difficult fight? But enough gushing about the game design. The world of Code Vein is an isolated post-apocalypse trapped within a magical dome called the Red Mist. Revenants are undying warriors capable of wielding powerful abilities through their blood thanks to a parasite implanted in their hearts. Yet with each temporary death, the soul loses a portion of its memory. When all of a Revenant's memories are lost, they become the Lost, mindless feral creatures. Revenants live off consuming either human blood or drinking the blood beads that sometimes grow from white thorns. But ever since Operation Queenslayer, a mission to kill the first Revenant after she went feral, the blood beads progressively dried up and were replaced with a miasma that hastens the loss of a Revenant's memories. As resources dwindle within the dome, a unique narrative reveals itself, a story of slavery to a wage paid in blood. Revenants were originally made to be a tireless army in service to regular humans before they were trapped in the dome. As such, some humans still maintain control over populations of Revenants, using them to destroy the Lost. Many Revenants rebelled and took possession of humans as blood farms to keep themselves fed. Revenants maintain a grudge against humanity for their treatment in the pre-apocalypse war. Humans are fearful of Revenants for the present state of slavery. The only middle ground is Silvia, the military government named for the general in command of Operation Queenslayer. The shelters set up by Silvia allow for some safety and coexistence of humans and Revenants, but humans must still pay a tax of blood, and Revenants must still search for blood beads and fight the Lost. They coexist in a state of poverty, where neither has enough food nor enough freedom. The theme of losing one's freedom to the lack of resources is further emphasized in the latter half of the game, when we find the source of the blood beads to not be a spring of wealth, but the trapped body of our friend's older sister, transformed into a series of roots that produce fruits of her own blood. We learn that the queen was not in fact killed, but instead separated into relics and stored within the bodies of people whose blood shows high compatibility with the parasite. To protect the outside world from the queen, holders of the relics, called successors, are imprisoned within cocoon-like chambers, and we, as the main character who shares the queen's blood due to an accident during Operation Queenslayer, can thus calm the frenzy of those relics, travel to each successor to restore their memories and sense of self. Along this quest, we discover that Gregorio Silva, too, is a successor who uses the power of the relics to create the red mist, in order to protect the humans and the revenants from the horrors of the outside world. Just as blood has become a limited resource in place of food in this setting, safety and security may be seen as resources. They require time, infrastructure, knowledge, and lives to establish. The need for blood reduces the freedom and happiness of humans and revenants alike. The need for security from the queen reduced the freedom of the successors, who became the infrastructure that kept her at bay. And the need for safety from the horrors of the outside world further imprisoned everyone within the dome. The only character who prioritized pure freedom was Mido, but he did so in a way that ignored the need for resources like food and safety, and in turn ignored that those things are necessary for people's lives. He ignored that the ability to live one's life at all is the foundation upon which we value freedom. In the end, Io, our attendant, becomes both a new source of blood beads and maintains the red mist, but changes the status quo by not only providing food and security, but providing the means to choose to give up your resources for the chance to venture out and acquire more. Only by securing more resources for the people might they know more freedom. The relationship between scarcity and freedom is a common motif in nearly all of Shift Game Studios' games. And if you see my older videos on God Eater and Freedom Wars, we don't often see them presenting a conclusion to that story that is relevant to those discussions. I am glad that this time there was a satisfying conclusion. While playing the game, I had quite a good deal of nitpicks and gripes, but the main thing that I feel is missing is a system by which we, as a player, could interact with the themes of scarcity through play. Had the experience resource or our healing items been called blood instead of haze or regeneration, it would have at least narratively connected our player statistics to the themes. But I can see why they avoided that choice so as not to appear derivative of specifically From Software's Bloodborne, but we can't expect everything to be so perfect. Thank you for watching, my friends. If you are new to this channel, you can talk to me and other like-minded people by joining the SocraTetris Symposium Discord server using the link in the description. You can support the channel on Patreon, where you will gain early access to video scripts where your critiques and feedback will directly shape future videos and the future of this channel. If you found value in this video, you should also enjoy our video on the philosophy of The Last of Us and how scarcity impacts our sense of ethics. Thank you again, I will see you in the next video, and remember, stay true.